Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giri Vardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giri Vardhari Nandana Braja Janahanjanaya Jasodanandana Braja Janahanjana Jamuna Thira Vana Chaharimu Jamuna Thira Vana Chaharimu Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giri Vardhari Giri Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giri Vardhari Gopi Janavallabha Giri Vardhari Yasodanandana Braja Janahanjanaya Yasodanandana Braja Janahanjanaya Jamuna Thira Vana Chaharimu Jamuna Thira Vana Chaharimu Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Pancha Tattva Pancha Tattva Pancha Tattva Jaya Pancha Tattva Pancha Tattva Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Gor Haribo. Gor Pimanande Hari Hari. Gyantimidandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Shrimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pastyatya De Satarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Vitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman Ji Ki Jai. So there's a request to speak a little bit as a prelude to preparing our enthusiasm and our consciousness and our mood of service to honor and welcome the Supreme Lord Sri Ram coming up in 2 days. Of course, to honor the Lord is the feature of the devotee's life. That is what a devotee does. He serves the Lord, and by serving the Lord, he honors the Lord in different ways. But there are special occasions that are provided by the mercy of the great souls to honor the Lord specifically in his different incarnations accordingly. So, Lord Ramchandra, Ramadi Murti Sukalani Amena Tishtan Nanavatar Akura Bhuvanesha Kinchu Krishnam Swayam Bhavamava Paramam Pamanyo Govinda Aripurusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi. And that verse refers to the Supreme Lord, Lord Ram. Out of all of the manifestations or incarnations of the Lord, within the realm of the Vaikuntha aspect of the spiritual existence, Ram's abode is considered the most elevated, or the most, or you might say glorious, out of all of those manifestations. And so it's been included in our calendar of worship that Ram should be welcome and honored. And of course, in the Maha Mantra, there are different moods by which a devotee adopts their relationship with the Lord. So in the chanting of the Maha Mantra, the word Rama is there. For some, according to their liking and inclination, that name Rama refers to Lord Ramachandra. For others who are more in the mood of Vrindavan mood, and that Rama means Rama, or what is it? Balaram, yeah, also. Balaram also, that's also Radhika Raman. Radhika Raman refers to Krishna. So for that mantra refers, all of the names refer to the Vaikuntha realm. the Vrindavan realm, like that. And so also, we can also include Balaram in that. And there was a discussion that actually was mentioned in the Shastras as a contentious discussion that Prabhupada was faced with when two senior devotees were discussing amongst themselves what is the actual meaning or reference to the personality of Ram in the Maha Mantra. And some were saying it's Balaram, and others were saying It is Lord Ramachandra. And Prabhupada acknowledged that it is correct in both sense, according to the mood of worship that one may adopt in relationship to the Supreme Lord. But of course, in our mood, we follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and generally our mood is in the mood of Vrindavan. But you'll see, even in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, he had an associate, Murari Gupta, who of course was identified with as he was Hanuman. He appeared in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes as Hanuman. But he was a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, so we see how even in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes there are others who have identities in other leelas of the Lord would appear in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes to assist him in his pastime, because he is the one supreme personality of Godhead. So we were asked to speak a little bit about some of the important messages that one can derive from hearing about and practicing some of the principles that are being taught in the whole theme of the Ramayana. And there are many. There are so many books written about it, and so many of the authors have very carefully gleaned out many of the qualities, characteristics that we also may adopt in our execution of Krishna consciousness, and also things that we should also avoid also. Because you see, when you carefully come in contact with the Ramayana, there are both things that we should avoid in our practice of spiritual life that were somewhat intrinsic in bringing about the pastimes of Lord Ram, and others that were, what we say, very much welcomed as a means for developing higher consciousness, or at least practical morality, both. And so there's one particular pastime which is pretty much fundamental, and it was a turning point in the whole pastime of Ram's mission in this world. He had Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata bhutanam adharmasya tadatmaham srijamyaham pravitranayam sadunam vinasanaya saduskritam dharma samstarpanartayam sambhavami yuge. So these two verses from the Bhagavad Gita kind of indicate the reason why the Lord appears in this world. Of course, there are other reasons, but this is fundamental to his appearance. And in that case, Ram also, at the time, just when the time when Ram was, before he was appearing in the world, there was a great meeting in the higher realms where the demigods were petitioning Lord Brahma that there was a very powerful and very invincible demon on the earth named Ravana. And he has such power and influence, and he's causing so much havoc among the peacefulness of the society. So we have to do something about him. And at that time, Brahma understood, and so he deputed the different demigods to take birth in different families, especially in the families of the Varnas, who are half monkeys and half human. Some of them were simians, and some of them were actually of the monkey race. Actually, there were millions of them. So many of them were demigods who had come to assist the Lord in his pastimes. So it was already revealed just at the time of Ram's appearance in the world about his mission, for why he came, of course. Of course, he comes for many reasons, and one of them is to teach the principles of saintly rule, which are somewhat lacking in today's world. What it means to be a ruler, it's almost, to be a ruler means to be like a father to the citizens, and therefore fathers always has the welfare of the children at heart. And he works in such a way as to make sure that they receive what they need to live and grow up properly and happily. So that's the mood of a king, of course, and he rules by what we say religious principles, coupled by proper administrative, understanding of how to rule. It's not an easy position, and anyone who takes that position, they say, is empowered by the Supreme Lord to have that position. Even those who are not even qualified up to the standard that is needed to rule, still they're, in one sense, they've been given some power by the Supreme Lord to take that position. So it's not a small responsibility. In fact, it's a great responsibility. And one who fails to do so, just like we see even in today's modern society, a ruler gets 1/6 of the karma of the citizens. So if the citizens are pious and religious, then that he gets 1/6 of that credit to his own spirit, his own personal upliftment, and the reverse is also true. That, especially in today's society, they get 1/6 of the irreligious activities and sinful activities of people, and therefore they find themselves not be able to last very long within their ruling position. And not to deviate too much from the storyline, there was just recently, maybe about a year ago, one person took a very powerful position in one of the most powerful countries on earth. That was the UK, United Kingdom. And this person was the Prime Minister. It was a lady, and she lasted for 44 days. 44 days. And then she was kicked out after 44 days. So obviously she was way below the standard of acceptability for whatever reason. So these are just examples of how, such positions we require great qualifications and also a mood of compassion towards the citizens that they are in charge of. So one of the turning points and in this whole Ramayana is that at one point, after Ram had been born and he had grown up along with Lakshmi, Bharat, and Shatrughna, these 4 brothers were actually incarnations of Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna, the Chaturvyuha in the spiritual world. In other delineations of this narration, they also say that they are the chakra, and the Padma, the Gada, and the, what's the level? Lotus flower? Is Padma, Padma, and Conch, the conch, okay. So they represent the 4 symbols of Lord Vishnu, and both are correct. Both understandings are accepted as being shastric and authorized. So at one point, it became quite obvious that of all of the 4 sons, the succeeding son for the throne in the kingdom of Dasarath was Ram. And no one disputed it, everyone supported it, and everyone loved it. In fact, they were all looking forward. Dasarath had ruled for so many years, and he was feeling it is time now to slowly retire from his position and again accept his son, Ram, who is the principal son of the principal queen, Kausalya. He had 3 principal queens. He had 350 wives. That's another story. And that connects to Parasuram, but anyway, that's another story. But these 3 principal wives brought forth these 4 sons, who were, of course, manifestations of the spiritual elements, and they had appeared on earth as 4 great personalities. And out of the 4, Ram was the most senior he was actually Vasudeva, or the incarnation of the Supreme Lord Narayan himself. And so it became obvious out of all that he was the most qualified to take the position. And he graciously accepted on behalf of the citizens and on his father. And so as time was moving on, everyone was getting quite enthusiastic that now the supreme, well, for the personality who will take the throne will be someone very qualified. As Dasaratha had ruled quite, let me say, what's the word? In other words, within the kingdom, there were no diseases, there were no atheists. Everyone was fully qualified in their 4 varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishyas, and Sudras. Everyone followed. The citizens were well protected. The military forces were invincible. And there was all auspicious within the kingdom. Everybody had everything they needed to live and more. And everyone was happy. Everyone was working according to their varna. Everyone was, diseases were hardly even seen within the, in other words, it was compared to Amarvati, which is the kingdom of Indra in the heavenly planets. It was that glorious. And so now they're going to move into another phase of what we say opulence and what we say prosperity, and Ram would take the throne. But some intrigue started to happen on the side. You can expect that. You'll see that. Wherever there is a great amount of spiritual power, there is the irreligious forces that try to get in and destroy things and change things around. You see that in Krishna's pastimes. How many demons did Krishna had to face every day? He's in his spiritual abode manifested here in the material world in Vrindavan, but practically every day there was a particular demon. In fact, it's mentioned that there were two demons every day coming, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, which Krishna had to dispatch to the kingdom of Yamaraj. So you could see here's an example of such a spiritually powerful abode manifested. The Supreme Personality is personally there, but still there is so much irreligious attack coming from the outside. This is also very instructive in our own society, that we should not think that everything is going to be very easy to bring about a transformation in the world for Krishna consciousness. There are irreligious forces that are working against that and trying to destroy it and divert it away from its ultimate, what we say, this destined goal. And that is the history of spiritual life. You'll find that everywhere. And so this irreligiousness came in the form of, there were 3 wives, main wives, Kaikeyi, Sumitra, and Kausalya. Kausalya was the oldest and most respected, but Kaikeyi was the youngest and most loved by Dasaratha. At one point she had saved his life on the battlefield, and to show his gratefulness he offered her 2 benedictions, which she refused to take at the time, but she said, in the future I will come for that. And so, but he would visit her quite regularly in the evening to spend time with her. And this was a daily affair. But she had one particular maidservant named Mantara. Mantara was an apsara, actually, as is described in the one version of the Ramayana, where she had come in this particular, and she was a cursed apsara. She had fell from her position of apsara and had taken on this very, what we say, unattractive form as a quite elderly hunchback, but also she had the good fortune to receive the position of being the maidservant of one of the principal queens of Dasaratha, Kaikeyi. So, and she would serve her mistress very nicely. But Kali is there, not really in full force, but in the hearts and minds of some individuals. And she was somewhat poisoned by the thought that if Ram takes the throne, and Ram's mother is Kausalya, Kaikeyi is the favorite. She will be pushed out. I will also be losing all of my credits and the opulences that I am achieved now. I'll be at best second hand, and Kausalya will be considered to be the most important queen because Ram is her son, and Dasara is very affectionate and very inclined towards Ram. So she was thinking in this negative way. So she decided to use her, what we say, duskritina, intelligence that is mixed with wrong intentions, to change the whole situation around. And in a very lambastic way, she approached her master, Kaikeyi. She said, "Why are you so happy? Don't you understand what's about to happen?" Kaikeyi couldn't understand her words. Why shouldn't we be happy? The whole citizenry, everyone is happy. Everyone is looking forward to the coronation of Ram tomorrow. It'll be a great festival and everyone is preparing. In fact, people were not even sleeping that night. They were making all preparations for the following day for the installment of Ram on the throne. The excitement was so strong that people were giving up at their sleep and working through the night to prepare for this great and glorious occasion. So the enthusiasm was there. But Amantara wanted her to remind her that actually it's not the way you think it is. Once, Ram becomes, and then she went into her poisonous dissertation, then you will be pushed out. I will be at best second class, and then Bart, he is more qualified to rule the throne than Ram is, and Ram will understand that, and so he will harass Bart and maybe even try to kill him because he knows Bart is more qualified. So she's making up all of these lies in order to influence Kaikeyi's mood to change, to listen to what she's about to say. Now this is very, we say, instructive for devotees. Fall down in devotional service begins when you start not appreciating and taking the opportunity to associate with devotees who are engaged in devotional service. By nature, we have to associate. We are social beings, and we find association or being with other persons a very important part of our need in life. Of course, there are a few people who are different, and there are those who are beyond that, who are self-realized, who can associate directly with the Supreme Lord through their own bhajan, their own devotional. But that comes by way of time and not by way of just by adaptation. And so this is going on, and then she says, so this wrong association brings about a type of mood that one will adopt in that association. So we say fall down in Krishna consciousness starts when we start finding fault with devotees and looking for association outside of that and thinking that I can still survive as a devotee in that mood. And then with wrong association, our values change and our direction in life becomes somewhat obscured. And although we think we're still practicing Krishna consciousness, we start to adopt material tendencies again due to that wrong association. I've seen it. In fact, I'm even experiencing it with some people that I know, even right now as I'm speaking. as they have been drifted away because of that, what we say, wrong association. And that's the beginning of fall down. And then as that continues, then one will start finding themselves less and less inclined to Krishna consciousness. It's something that happens regularly, unfortunately, but it's just the way it is. So we should always appreciate and be in the proper mood when we are in association with devotees. And what is that mood? The mood is to serve. And the mood is to serve and to also to learn. And so now, giving her opinion on why that it's not a good thing that Ram takes the throne, Kaikeyi is hearing. At first she's not accepting, but Mantara's words are filled with envy and a type of, what we say, convincing way to bring about her ideas. She was able to speak in a convincing way. And you can find that too. You'll see that there are those who can speak irreligion in a way that it seems like it's nice or convincing like that. The power of speech. And using their intelligence to push forth their own agenda. So as Mantara was continuing, she said, finally, Kaikeyi said, "Oh, what should I do? You know, yes, I can understand and what you're saying has some value, but what should I do?" And then now she's really in, now she lets her have it. Don't you remember, Dasaratha you saved his life on the battlefield when he was fighting against these powerful demons who had already defeated the demigods. And now he was in the battle also. But the demons were so empowered that even he was wounded on the battlefield. You took him out of the battlefield and you nursed him back to health. He was grateful for your service and he offered you 2 benedictions. Now is the time to take those benedictions. And what should be the benedictions? Well, we understand, and you understand also your son Bart is more qualified, so he should be the Prince Regent, he should be on the throne. So you communicate that to Dasaratha, that actually you want Bart to be on the throne. And Kaikeyi was she was okay with that. And she thought, yeah, let's see, well, and what would be the second one? Well, because Bart will take the throne, Ram will be envious, and Ram has a lot of support from the citizenry, so he will gather his armies, and there will be chaos in the city, there will be great fights, and then we don't know what will happen. Maybe even Ram will be victorious, so Ram should be banished for the forest for 14 years. That part she didn't like so much. Why expel Ram? Ram is so loving. He loves all of his mothers equally. He's like my own son. But she continued to say that this is the situation. You should be aware that Ram is apparently like that, but when he sees his position being overruled, he will, act in that way. And so she continues with her vituperation and with such poison that once you get the confidence of the wrong sound vibrations, and whatever they can pile on that becomes more and more convincing. So never lend an ear to wrong association, because it can cause you to have doubts in Krishna consciousness, or even think wrongly about something that is completely of the opposite. And there are people in the world who are like that. You find the media is like that. They'll try to convince you of things that are not beneficial for you or even true. That's the way life is in Kali Yuga. Hypocrisy, cheating, lying, nepotism, and so many bad qualities are filtered through the society as ways of existence. Because the idea is everyone for themselves. And so, why? But Kaikeyi tried to speak a little bit in favor of Ram, but Manthara was more effective. And having already given audience to Manthara, she readily agreed. And then the whole thing was changed, of course. Why 14 years? Why did she pick 14 years? This is just a side thought. It's interesting. It calls it the rights of proprietorship are given in the scriptures according to the age. So if something is your rightful ownership, if you don't claim it within a certain amount of years, it no longer becomes your right. So in Treta Yuga, it was 14 years. In Dwapara Yuga, it was 13 years. That's why the Pandavas were banished for 13 years. In Kali Yuga, it's 12 years. So if you have a right to something, even in a legal way, if you don't claim that right or make an effort to claim it, then you lose that opportunity to gain that. So that's according to scriptures. I don't know what secular society follows today. I don't think they follow that. Huh? What is it? 10 years? Okay, yeah. The rights of, what's the word? The rights of, I guess, huh? Primogenitor, right? Something like that. Primogenitor? Primogenitor really means inheritance for the oldest of this within the family. Yeah, something like there's another terminology. And so now she makes her move. She calls Dasarat, and Dasarat is coming, but he doesn't find her in her place. And she takes a place, there's a place called the sulking chamber, where if you feel you're in a mood of unhappiness, the ladies go there and experience their unhappiness in that place. So he couldn't find Kaikeyi in her own place. And then he was led to her in the sulking chamber, and she's laying on the floor. Her ornaments are in disarray. Her face is very unhappy. When she sees her husband coming, she becomes more unhappy. He tries to pacify her and tries to find out why she's in that state. She doesn't really respond. But then after some time she said, "Don't you remember? You gave me this benediction that after some time I decided to take it, and that time is now." Those two benedictions, so yes, of course. That was my promise. Whatever you want, just ask. And she waited until he opened up himself completely to her suggestion. She didn't just say it right away. Only when he, uncompromisingly agreed to fulfill her desires, then she let him have it. Boom. Yes, whatever you say, I will do. Please ask. Yes. What was it? Hadai Pandit said that to the traveling sannyasi who came to Ekachakra. Yes, you are my guest in my house. Whatever you want, please ask for it. Yes. We're here to fulfill your desires. I want your son, Nitai. Crash. He was stunned. In the same way, after Dasarat had heard what she wanted, he wasn't sure he was hearing right. He was in a state of disbelief. He couldn't even fathom the idea that she would speak something like that. So it became a principle of complete disbelief. But then she emphasized it. He says, you are a king, you are a kshatriya. When you give your word is your honor. If you do not fulfill your obligation after giving your word, you will be criticized, you'll be defamed. It'll be worse than death for you. You'll be seen as a misruler. In so many ways, she made him feel what we say, that unless he fulfills her desire, there's no use to his life anymore. She was expert in speaking like that. And so, he tried everything he could. In fact, he begged her, he pleaded with her, he tried different ways to change her mind. He even got angry with her. None of it she remained fixed in her desire. And then when he understood that she wasn't going to change, then he actually lost consciousness. So that's a particular part of the pastime. Of course, that led to the banishing of Ram into the forest along with Sita and Lakshman for 14 years. And the citizens of Ayodhya, oh my God, what happened with them? When they found out what had actually transpired overnight, they were in total shock and disbelief. In fact, they started to criticize KK so badly that they said, let her stay here and she and her son can rule the kingdom by herself. We're going to the forest with Ram. So they gathered practically all of the citizens. The shops were closed. Everybody gave up all of their occupation. And after Ram had boarded the chariot of Sumantra, his chariot driver, was going to the forest, the entire citizens came and followed in their own, what we say, conveyances. They followed into the forest. And this whole city was practically empty. I mean, the city was huge. There were millions and millions of residents in the city. It was one of the biggest cities on earth at that time. It was 96 miles long and 24 miles wide, square miles, not just miles, square miles. So they thought, without Ram, what is the use of Ayodhya? And being in the forest with Ram is Ayodhya. Well, they were thinking, we'll actually create Ayodhya in the forest. And then then Ayodhya will become the forest. That was the mood. But of course, Ram was determined to go alone, and so in one night, when they were all camped out together, Ram woke up in the middle of the night and told Sumantra, you take the chariot and you drive this way and that way, make chariot wheels in the mud, and then we'll go in a different direction. So when the citizens woke up, Ram was gone, but they tried to follow the chariot, they couldn't, and then they realized there was no way, he was actually gone. So, of course, there was many other important principles that were very instructive to leading up for Ram going into the forest. And one of them was that Ram was asked to go alone. But when Lakshman wanted to go, Ram told him no. But then Lakshman said, well, if I can't go, there's no use to my living. Without your association, I have no life. So I'll just take poison and die. So Ram was very inclined to the association of Lakshman because they were inseparable. So he allowed Lakshman to go. But when the word came to Sita that her husband was going, and she also came and pleaded to be, to also go into the forest, Ram was not inclined. He gave her so many reasons why she shouldn't come. It's cold, dark, where will you sleep, how will you eat? There's no food there, you have to live on fruits, wild fruits and roots. And there is rakshasas, there are dangerous animals in the forest. It's not a place for such a saintly person, a princely person as you. She didn't want to hear it. She started to glorify the position of a wife, that a wife's duty is to never leave her husband under any condition. Even if the husband wants to somehow do something separate, the wife should never give up that association. And she said, what will I do without you? My purpose of life is to be with you and to serve you. With you gone, I have no purpose in life. Therefore, there will be no meaning to my life. Therefore, I will also give up my life. And she was serious. This was not just some nice words to convince somebody. She was very serious. And she started talking about the duty of a wife in such a glorious way. And then Ram acquiesced. He agreed, okay, you can also come. And I'll do whatever I can to protect you while you're in the forest. And that's the duty of a husband, to give all protection to the wife. And the duty of the wife is to give all service to the husband in such a way that the husband is pleased and is benefited by that service. That's the relationship. Of course, when the husband's protection towards the wife is his service towards the wife also. I remember there was a little funny incident. We were in Croatia, and it was during a summer camp many years ago. And the same theme was talking about, how the husband's duty is to protect the wife. So I was giving the class, and the husband in one was sitting on one side, the men were sitting there, and the lady was sitting over there. So I'm talking about this same thing, and all of a sudden a gigantic wasp, and it was really big, starts flying around one lady and is really attacking her. And she's calling out for help. And I saw her husband over there. I said, come on, this is your duty. Help her. And he looked at me like, are you sure? So, just to illustrate the point I was making, Krishna sent in a wasp. But somehow the wasp realized that the husband was useless, so he decided that his service was over, so he left. So yeah, this was an example of how even an apparently small thing like that is that a woman becomes very much dear to her husband, because in his role as a husband is to give her three things: protection, affection, and material, we say material opulences. And Prabhupada said, nice clothes, nice food, nice ornaments, jewelry. So, one of my disciples, we were in Mayapur together, and he had a dream one night. And in the dream, I appeared to him in the dream, and I gave him a sari. And the next morning, he tells me about the dream. He said, Maharaj, you appeared in the dream to me, and you gave me a green sari. And what is the meaning of that dream? Well, then I started to think. The sari was not for you, it's for your wife, because you're not giving her anything. So I'm helping you in your service. And it was pretty good. He accepted that like that. So Krishna works in different ways to somehow remind us of our duty sometimes, especially in relationship to husband and wife. So these are some of the, this is one of the major themes in the Ramayana, is the influence of wrong association and how that can change one's whole destiny in life. And we've seen that also. Just like there was one particular demon named Bhaumasura. Bhaumasura was actually a son of Krishna. He was born from when Varahadev lifted the earth, and he was shaking his body, getting the water off after he had dived into the Garbhodak ocean to bring the earth back to its place within the planetary systems. Some of the hairs on his body fell onto the earth, And that became kusa grass, actually. And also, he also, by touching the earth, he impregnated the earth, and one son was born, and his name was Boma, which was the son of the Lord and the earth. That's why he was given the name Boma, earth. But although he was the son of the Supreme Lord, he was killed by the Supreme Lord later because of his bad association with one demon called Naraka. And so by bad association, this son of the Lord actually became like that association. So this wrong association, that's why Srila Prabhupada emphasized the importance of Vaishnava association. And we should also try to learn the art of how to associate. Association is more than physical proximity. It's a mood of how to offer service in that atmosphere of association. Just like here, right now, what is the association? Association is to hear. And my association is to somehow speak something that is helpful or relevant. And that way we are associating. If you're hearing nicely, you're connected in that association. So that's how association works. It works according to the particular mood that we are trying to accomplish in that particular setting. So this is the transmission and understanding of transcendental knowledge. So the process of hearing becomes the perfection of the association. And the process of hearing also takes different stages of understanding, where one starts to think and how it applies to me and how I can practically apply it in my day-to-day life. So these are just some examples of how association works. Okay, and so that's one of the many themes that the Ramayana is helping, and it's one of the main themes too, because for devotees, wrong association is pretty much a big obstacle in the progress of devotional service. It becomes not only an obstacle, it becomes a turning point in the wrong direction. So be careful of us. Sometimes we have to associate with, at least for some reason, with people on the outside, but we should never adopt their mood or their value systems. If we do, then we're beginning to, what we say, associate in a way that is contrary to our value system, which is completely opposite. What they value and what we value is opposite. They see everything in the world as for their enjoyment. We see everything in the world as for Krishna's enjoyment, which is the opposite. Okay, so any questions or comments? Or, yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for the points. I want to ask about Mantara. Can she also represent our mind? And
represent?
Our mind. And if we listen to our toxic mind, that actually we can pollute ourselves.
Well, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati gives a warning in a very strong way. And that, of course, requires some explanation, but he says, your mind is a non-devotee. So we don't associate with non-devotees. So that means that association you can't give up, but you have to convert that person to a devotee, your mind. So we have to, the process of Krishna consciousness is to purify the mind, where the mind becomes an assistant to the soul and not something working against the soul's, goal in life. So yeah. So therefore, by practicing Krishna consciousness, we purify the mind, and then the mind becomes more and more, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the mind is your best friend or your worst enemy. So make your mind a friend by making it live by the principles of the devotion, the principles of the instructions of the spiritual master. And whenever these other thoughts that are contrary to that, don't allow them to grow in your mind. And we have to push them out, even though they seem to be somewhat acceptable. If they're contrary to our progress in devotional service, then we don't want anything to do with them. That's a common question that people ask, Well, how do you deal with that? Just bring Krishna into the mind. Bring something spiritual into the mind. Therefore, it says a devotee has to watch his mind. Jai Sri Sri Panchatattva Ki Jai. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? I know you have questions, but you don't want to ask. But if you don't ask, then the questions will remain unanswered. No questions? Such an important principle of association, and there's no questions about that? It's the way we live from day to day. Yes. Question? No, in the back there.
Oh, yeah.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, thank you for your lecture. Today in the morning, I also I would like to share something about association, which is also referred to Ramayana, Ramachandra, Lord Ramachandra. There was in Bhakti-Yoga Swami Maharaj Sangha group, he sent from Srila Prabhupada morning walk in December 5th from 1973 in Los Angeles, when Srila Prabhupada said that we have to live with devotees. Why I left my family? Because they were not devotees. Therefore I came. Otherwise, in old age, I would have been comfortable. No, we should not live with the non-devotees, may be family man or anyone. Just like Maharaj Vibhishana, because his brother was not devotee, he left him. He came to Ramachandra. So probably we can also associate this, that also Vibhishana went away from Ravana.
Yeah, we are trying to become Krishna conscious. So we take the association of those who are doing the same. And that becomes the spiritual family. Our material family, we have life after life after life. We have a different set of material arrangements, different lives. But the spiritual family, once we enter it, is an eternal feature. And that stays with us and develops. So that's the real family. That's the real association, because it takes us to the goal of life and not away from the goal of life. Yeah, so although Vibhishan loved his brother Ram, he did, Ravana, still he understood that he was working against true religious principles, and therefore he was persona non grata. He didn't give up his love for his brother. That was seen at the end of the Ramayana when Ravana was killed. Vibhishan lamented. But after he went through his lamentation, then Ram told him, you performed the last rites for your brother, and he did. But he could understand that his brother was, working against truth, against God. So therefore, he gave him up.
Thank you for elaborating a little bit more.
Yeah. Thank you. Maharaj, you want to add anything? Oh, okay. Hare Krishna, hare-rama. Thank you. When you say Hare Krishna, that purifies everything. It makes it more pure. All right, so if there's no more questions, we can... Oh, you had another question? Okay. Yeah.
So can you tell us, in association of devotees, you said we should try to get a serious association from serious devotees. So how can we? So what are the symptoms of a serious devotees we would preferably want to associate with?
Devotees who are fixed in their execution of devotional service, no matter what level they're practicing on. If they're fixed in their association is what we say desirable. You can see that. If they're chanting, they're following the regulative principles, they don't criticize, and they're always enthusiastic to accept service whenever it's needed. These are serious devotees. At least they're giving indication of what it means to practice Krishna consciousness properly. But then again, there are persons who are qualified to give guidance and directions by their what we say, advancement in spiritual life. They know the Shastras, they can speak the Shastras, they can also help us by showing us what is not Krishna consciousness. So one should seek out such association and hear from them, ask questions. I was told, now please don't condemn me for this, I was told by two very strong devotees who were formerly residents of Slovenia, who grew up in Slovenia. They told me that, I said, why doesn't anybody in Slovenia ask questions? She says, well, they all have questions, but they're so shy they don't ask. So I know you all have questions. She said that is the mood. They feel like, well, my question's not so important, and I don't want to ask it or anything like that. So, I don't know if she's right, but she told me that anyway. So, don't hesitate if you have questions, because it's good for everyone. It stimulates the rest of the devotees to also get into the discussion. And once you begin a discussion on a particular subject, then you bring out more and more relevant points. And that's where the points really start to arise, where you can understand more when you get into a discussion based on the questions and answers, like that. So don't be shy. And no one will think, oh, your question is stupid. Don't worry about that. Don't feel bad because, you may feel like, oh, I have a question, but yeah, people will think, well, why is he asking that question? Yes. Another question. Jai Maharaj, thank you for coming.
For inspiring us to have a questions. I would like just to ask you something about association with the holy name. I mean, how can we understand this association? Sometimes we can easily understand situation with another living being, but how to understand association with holy name? Probably this is also important.
Well, the holy name is our worshipable deity in the form of Krishna and the sound vibration. It's the means for self-realization, means for purification of the heart. It connects you with Krishna through sound. So our approach to the holy name is Trinadapi Sunichena Tayori Vasahishnana. To be humble. Never think that you can conquer the holy name simply by your chanting. You have to allow the holy name to conquer you by approaching the name in a helpless way, a way of please lift me up. And Lord Chaitanya gave the formula. Ayinanda tunuja kinkaram tati patitamam mishame bhavam buddha kripaya tarvapada pankaja stita duli sadrisam vichintaya. Prabhupada said this is the mood of chanting. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servant. somehow or other I've fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and make me as an atom at your lotus feet. Yeah. So it's a helpless prayer that you're asking the Lord to pick you up, and through the process of chanting the holy name. So it's the greatest benediction that one can encounter in this age, the mercy of the holy name. And the holy name, when it's sung enthusiastically in kirtan, the whole atmosphere becomes spiritual. All the material energy just appears. Okay. Still no questions, okay. Mukunda, okay.
I was wondering when you were saying about when we have the association is important, but then there's different forms of associations, and then when your heart is full of, I would say, or not full, but when the bad associations come in the heart, how to change that? You start like this maidservant, she was like poisoning the...
Yeah.
But it looked like not a poison at first, it looked like a good suggestion.
Right.
First one, yeah, and then the second one, but then it was a whole...
Yeah, as soon as she became submissive, then she was open to whatever she said. So when you see that something is coming to you that is not good, or you don't want it, you should somehow or other try to avoid that. Either by changing the subject or by departing the association. Either way. Yeah, because it's not good. Even if you feel like, well, I'm okay, but if you allow that person to speak in that way, it's bad for them also. So you're helping them by not allowing them to speak in the way that is bad for them.
Just another add, would like the opposite of, I don't know how to say, this was like the maidservant was criticizing Lord Ram in some way.
Right.
Or saying butter is better and like that. But would the other way around, if we praise or if we, say good things about a nice devotees, right. Or, how to change that?
That works. Can work if you just very carefully interject that whatever is saying, you just say something that is the opposite. Well, you might say that about that person, but I can also understand that she has these good qualities and like that. Or he has, And then that kind of derails the poison. To criticize another person is just, it's not good for anybody to find fault. So we avoid that and don't allow people to do that to you also. Sometimes for the sake of management, there has to be some discussion on how to improve the situation, and there may be someone who is at fault who needs some correction. And that's discussed from a position of making the situation right. In other words, managers may have to do that in order to improve the quality of the devotees who they are leading, like that. A guru has to do that with his disciples. Parents have to do that with their children. Teachers have to do that with their students. So that's acceptable, but not in a spirit of what we say. negativity. It's always done for the benefit of everyone. Christ used to say, hate the sin, but not the sinner. Yeah. Thank you, Mukunda. Thank you. Anyone else? No? I thought I saw your hand up. No? Okay. Everyone's so shy. All right, so we'll stop here. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.